Hi everyone. Okay, today I want to talk about the director of Top Gun Maverick, of Goodfellas, of Airport, of Band of Brothers, and Pearl Harbor. Hang on a minute, there isn't one director for each of those movies. No, that's quite right, but the director I want to talk about today certainly influenced each of those films, I would say. Not a director name that's spoken about too much nowadays, but yeah, today's video I just want to do a brief tribute to the director William A Wellman. So William A Wellman, Hollywood director, his starting point in life perhaps didn't get off to the best start. He was expelled from school for dropping a stink bomb onto his teacher's head. But he redeemed himself during World War I. He became a decorated combat pilot, saw a lot of action there, and he earned the nickname of Wild Bill for his time spent there. After the war, he would use the polo field belonging to Douglas Fairbanks as a landing strip, and he got talking to Douglas Fairbanks, who really enjoyed some of his war stories under the nickname of Wild Bill, and suggested William A Wellman to become an actor. But that was a very short-lived career. He started acting in 1919, but didn't get off to a very good start there because he slapped Miriam Cooper, who at that time was the wife of director Raoul Walsh, and so his acting career soon came to an end. He started making movies in 1923, but he really got off to a flying start, if you like, in 1927. Because in 1927 he directed the film Wings, which went on to win the Academy Award for the Best Picture that year. So this is the first film to win the Best Picture Academy Award, the only silent movie to win the Academy Award during the silent era. And yeah, quite a revolutionary film, this one. And this is a film that still looks absolutely fantastic. So it's a wartime story set during World War I. It involves two pilots, both from different backgrounds, both in love with the same girl, and they then head off into air combat battle. So does that plot line sound similar? Yes, certainly it was used in Pearl Harbor. And then the reason I showed you Top Gun Maverick is that, well, here we are back in 1927. This is the first film that actually uses actual actors in flying sequences, and we had camera crews actually up in the planes as well. They had to invent special types of mounting units for the cameras for these flying sequences, and the aerial sequences in this film are absolutely fantastic. This film still looks excellent today. Thousands of extras used in this, hundreds of planes, and it all really shows there on the screen. You've got two actors, Charles Buddy Rogers and Richard Arlen, and they're fighting over the great actress Clara Bow in this, and she's really, really good. So yeah, phenomenal film this. This was the only film also to win an engineering award, honorary Oscar, for its innovative use of the mounting blocks there for the camera equipment. So yeah, an astonishing film and definitely worth seeing. And not only is it great for its visual entertainment and the flying sequences, but also this film has a brief 2-minute cameo from a certain actor called Gary Cooper, and this film enabled him to get a Hollywood contract and really launched his career. In 1931, William A Wellman directed this gangster drama, The Public Enemy, starring James Cagney. But yeah, Public Enemy really was the film that launched James Cagney's career. He'd been in a few films just before this one, but yeah, this one was a huge box office hit, and it's about the rise and fall of a gangster. The character name is Tom Powers, played by James Cagney, and it was a really brutal film, and Cagney's character here alternates between sort of pleasant smiles and really sort of cruel behaviour as well. It's absolutely famous for a scene in which he shoves a grapefruit into the face of actress Mae Clarke. Still looks really brutal today, but yeah, excellent film this, and like I say, this one really started off the whole sort of gangster dramas, which have carried on until today. And also in 1931, William A Wellman did another film, and this one was starring actress Dorothy McHale, who had really come from the silent era, but this was an absolutely fantastic performance for her. This is a film in which she plays a prostitute who thinks that she might have killed a man that she was previously involved with, and she gets help in fleeing to go to a Caribbean island, thinking it's all going to be safe for her there, but oh no, this Caribbean island actually has a whole load of really lecherous men who've all come with criminal backgrounds, and they're there for various kind of nefarious means, and so it's really quite a dangerous island for her to be on. So yeah, again, a really sort of gripping kind of drama, this one. Fantastic performance from Dorothy McHale, and it also features a singing performance from the great Nina Mae McKinney. Then in 1937, William A. Wellman directed another film nominated for Oscars, and it was the original A Star Is Born. So William A. Wellman is actually the person who gets the credit for the original story of A Star Is Born. So this is a film that's been remade several times. It was done in 1954 with James Mason and Judy Garland. It was done in 1976 with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson, and again in 2018 with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. But yeah, William A. Wellman is the original story writer, although there are actually 10 screenplay credits on this original film. But the unique thing on this version is that the story involves an aspiring actress who comes to Hollywood and then hooks up with an actor who's an alcoholic on the downward spiral. And so in all the other versions, it's an aspiring singer. Now this one has Janet Gaynor in the cast, and she was fairly fresh, I suppose, from the film Sunrise, absolutely brilliant silent movie, which also won Oscars in the same year as Wings. And then she co-stars with the great actor Frederick March, and their performances are both excellent in this. This is also a beautiful movie to look at. It's done in an early stage of 3-strip Technicolor, and the cinematographer W. Howard Green won a special Oscar this year, 1937, for his work on this film. He was a pioneer in colour cinematography, so really it hadn't been used much before this film came out, and yeah, really lovely muted colours. It looks great if you watch this film. So yeah, excellent films, quite comedic and humorous during the first hour before the melodrama sort of takes over in the second hour, when the sort of alcoholism of Frederick March's character kind of takes over. But yeah, really, really good movie. And then in 1937, again, same year as A Star Is Born, William A. Wellman did another film, but this one was a screwball comedy, but it also reunited him with Frederick March, the actor, and also the cinematographer, W. Howard Green. But the actress in this one is Carole Lombard. A really fun screwball comedy, this one, quite surprising for William A. Wellman to do. But yeah, this one involves Carole Lombard's character, who is supposedly dying from radium poisoning, and Frederick March plays a newspaperman who hears of the story, goes out to meet her, think it's going to be a great human interest story for the paper. But the thing is, she's actually been misdiagnosed. There's actually nothing wrong with her. But when she gets wind of the idea that she can get to go to New York and see the sights there, then she sort of continues to feign illness and goes along with it. So yeah, this is actually quite a entertaining screwball comedy. This really good performances from Carole Lombard and Frederick March. Very, very entertaining. And the script on this one is by Ben Hecht. He had already done the front page and Design for Living for Ernst Lubitsch by this stage. But yeah, a really prolific comedic screenwriter. In 1943, William A. Wellman went into the sort of Western territory, and he did the classic The Oxbow Incident, which starred Henry Fonda and Dana Andrews. A really classic one, this, that involves 3 men who are captured by a posse suspected of killing a man, and then there's this sort of moral debate amongst the posse about whether or not to lynch them. So yes, although this is a Western, it's very much a morality play, but yeah, superbly played out. Henry Fonda was particularly proud of his role in this one. He had been in other films at that time that he wasn't too happy about, but then he got this sort of double whammy of being in Grapes of Wrath and Oxbow Incident, and yeah, great movie, this one. And interestingly, this film was nominated as a Best Picture at the Academy Awards that year, but that was the only nomination it got. So yeah, nothing for directing, nothing for acting. So that's quite an unusual one. It didn't win, but it's certainly gone on to be regarded as quite a classic. Then the following year, William A Wellman directed Buffalo Bill, and this was a bit of a trade-off really with producer David O. Selznick. David O. Selznick hadn't been too keen on the idea of the Oxbow incident, and in fact that film did end up being a commercial flop, but William A. Wellman had really wanted to make that, and so agreed to do Buffalo Bill as a kind of safer project. So yeah, this one stars Joel McCrea as Buffalo Bill Cody, and it rather sort of episodically tells his story from being an army scout through to establishing his Wild West show. Some casting in this that really dates it, which has Anthony Quinn and Linda Darnell in Native American roles, but it also co-stars Maureen O'Hara, and she looks absolutely stunning in this. Quite an early role for her, but yeah, gorgeous. And the film itself, like I say, it is very episodic in nature until we get to one particular scene, which is a reenactment of what's called the Siege of Warbonnet's Gorge, and this involves hundreds of horses, really thunderous hooves going through this valley. It looks incredibly dangerous the way they filmed it, with lots of people falling off horses and close to being trampled on. Really thrilling scene. And in 1945, William A. Wellman directed a really excellent World War II drama, and it's the story of G.I. Joe. And this was adapted from writings from a Pulitzer Prize-winning war correspondent, Ernie Pyle. And he's played in this movie by Burgess Meredith, who, for many people, will more likely associate him for being Mickey, Rocky's trainer in the Rocky movies, as well as playing the Penguin in the Batman TV series from the 60s. But yeah, Burgess Meredith, really good in this one. And it concerns the movements of an infantry troop in Italy, trying to liberate Italy during World War II. And really the film concerns itself more with the actual movements of these troops and having to cope with, torrential rain, mud, being in rubble conditions, and the occasional battle as well, obviously. So there are some intense battle scenes in this which do look really authentic. They actually used infantrymen in this film. But the co-star in this is Robert Mitchum, and this was an early role for him, and it's a film that actually earned him an Oscar nomination for his acting, and it's the only time that he got Oscar nominated. So yeah, good role for him. Robert Aldrich was an assistant director on this film, and he's a director who went on to make films such as Attack and The Dirty Dozen and The Flight of the Phoenix. And then the actual name G.I. Joe is something that attracted the attention of Hasbro, and they actually named their action figure G.I. Joe after this film. And in 1949, we get another terrific World War II film, and this is Battleground. And this one, again, similarly involves looking at troops. So this is the 101st Airborne Division on manoeuvres, and they get trapped in Bastogne in France, and this is during the Battle of the Bulge period. And so what we're really looking at here is, these troops, these infantrymen who are trapped in terrible conditions. It's very snowy, it's very misty, and so they need to try and wait it out so they can get air support. And so really all the time that they're waiting, they're getting low on rations and fuel and food, just having to try and wait it out. This is a really much more atmospheric wartime movie, and really excellent cast. We've got Van Johnson in the main role here, and this is a more serious role for him, having been in musicals such as It's Always Fair Weather. And co-stars here James Whitmore, and he got an Oscar nomination for this. Now, James Whitmore, this is a really terrific role for him, but for many people, you might know him more, I suppose, for being in The Shawshank Redemption, because he played the character in there of the old guy who does actually get released from prison, but then can't hack it on the outside and commits suicide. But yeah, this is really a fantastic role for him in Battleground. So yeah, like I say, a really sort of authentic kind of look to this one. It's quite gripping at times. Also stars Ricardo Montalban, a good sequence for him in this film. And it did win Oscars for its script, because the scriptwriter Robert Pirosh actually had wartime experience. And then Oscar winning also for cinematography by Paul Vogel, a great cinematographer who also went on to do films such as High Society and The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. And then in 1953, William A Wellman gets to direct this one, Island in the Sky, starring John Wayne. And this is a drama, a survival drama, if you like, that has John Wayne as a pilot who's piloting a C-47 Corsair with his crew, and they get into a difficult situation and end up having to crash land their plane into a wintry wilderness in northern Canada. And they then have to see if they can just survive and wait it out whilst air crews try and come to their assistance if they can be found. So not actually too much to the story on this one, because it's really a lot of signalling, a lot of waiting around and sharing out rations. But yeah, it's well done, and there is actually some really impressive aerial cinematography in the latter half of the film as these rescue crews come to try and look for them. But yeah, this was written by Ernest K. Gann, who was a former aviator, and so he had a lot of aviation experience. And he then went on to work again with William A. Wellman on this film in 1954, The High and the Mighty. So Ernest K. Gann, again, the scriptwriter, and again, we're starring John Wayne here. Now, the funny thing about this film is really this is the forerunner, if you like, to the 70s disaster movie. So that's why I showed you Airport earlier on, because similarly in this film, we've got John Wayne here as a co-pilot who's on a passenger airline that's going from Honolulu to San Francisco. We've got a whole cast of characters here on board this plane, and midway through they get into difficulty on the plane, and the pilot, played by Robert Stack, has a touch of the nerves, and John Wayne has to take over. Now, Robert Stack, you may remember him, he actually gets to lampoon his role in the 1980 film Airplane. But yeah, so many people will think of Airport as being the starting point of the disaster movies, but really it started here with The High and the Mighty. So yeah, this is a really entertaining film. It was a huge box office hit in 1954. And it got several Oscar nominations, including Oscar nominations for actresses Claire Trevor and Jan Sterling, and also an Oscar win for the composer Dmitri Tiomkin. And in fact, you kind of hear John Wayne's character whistling the theme tune quite a lot in this film. Okay, that by no means is an overview of all of the films that were made by William A. Wellman. He also did films such as Beau Geste, Yellow Sky, Lady of Burlesque, and plenty others. But yeah, this is just, again, really just a kind of brief tribute, if you like, to the directing talents of William A. Wellman, a director whose work is still influencing others to this day. So yeah, definitely a lot of movies here that are worth checking out. To my mind, it seems as though The Public Enemy and Oxbow Incident are ones which are still kind of in the conversation nowadays because of boutique label reissues and what have you, but the other ones maybe not so much. So definitely I recommend films such as Story of G.I. Joe, Battleground, and of course the original Wings. Absolutely superb stuff. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do join me again for some more videos. All the best to you. Bye bye.